Living Adventurously is brought to you in partnership with Komoot, the route planning and navigation app that helps you make the most of your outdoor adventures. Whether you're cycling, hiking, running, or bike packing, Komoot's easy-to-use technology will get you out the door and exploring more of the great outdoors. You can see where I've been exploring by checking out the highlights of my journey on Komoot. Just follow the link in the show notes. My name is Alistair Humphreys. I set out on a bicycle journey around Yorkshire to speak to interesting, ordinary people who, in very different ways, are making an effort to live adventurously. I wanted to talk about what they do, about the barriers they've faced along the way, and to seek their perspective on some of the big questions that all of us encounter in our lives. Welcome to Living Adventurously. I've written here, needs intro music. Okay, here we go. That'll do. Normally in life, I find that it seems to be me who tries to drag people out of bed at stupid o'clock in the morning to go and do daft stuff. But in Harrogate, Ben got the upper hand on me by roping me in to run 10k with him at 6 o'clock in the morning. In order to maximise my sleep time before meeting him, I looked on my map for a nearby spot to wild camp. And then I remembered that a good friend of mine lived close by, but was out of town. He was away on holiday. So I amused myself with a spot of gentle trespassing, hopping over my friend's fence, sleeping on his lawn, and pinching peas from his vegetable patch. And then, very early in the morning, I got up, cycled into town to meet Ben and go for our run together. Ben is a proper runner. He recently ran a lap of Yorkshire, 400 odd miles, and he's now begun the early bird run crew to try and help build a friendly community of runners in his hometown. And in doing so, to encourage people to get out of the house and take positive steps, positive action to try and help with their mental health. So, sweaty but kind of smug, having run 10 kilometres before breakfast time, Ben and I sat down on a park bench on a lovely, sunny, warm Yorkshire day morning to have a cup of coffee and a bit of a natter. We have our coffee. This is the sweatiest podcast I've done so far.
Good. That's probably going to be the best one.
Okay. Good morning, Ben.
Good morning.
This is the...
Whoops.
Shit. Sorry. Good morning, Ben.
Good morning.
This is the earliest podcast we've done. It's August the 1st, Yorkshire Day.
Absolutely.
A good day to be in Yorkshire and a good day to be meeting Ben Dave, who, well, I don't like to boast, but I'm cycling a lap of Yorkshire, which is pretty hardcore and tough. I don't suppose you've ever done anything nearly as cool as that, have you?
No. I'm not really a cyclist, to be honest.
Okay. Have you done anything tougher than cycling around Yorkshire?
I ran a lap of Yorkshire.
Okay, that beats mine. Why did you run a lap of Yorkshire?
I wanted to raise some money for a mental health charity. I went through a bit of a wobbly patch in 2016 and got myself to a pretty dark place. And when I came out the other side, wanted to sort of hold my hands up to it and admit that I'd been through that, so other people that are going through it maybe took a bit of solace from that and raised a bit of cash for Calm as well.
What's Calm?
Calm's men's mental health charity, the campaign against living miserably, and they run a helpline and an online web chat for people that need a natter and do some amazing sort of marketing and publicity around mental health. Okay,
so you decided to go run around Yorkshire. How long was it from coming up with this vague idea to turning it into reality?
It was probably about a year with me sort of coming up with the idea initially to actually setting off and doing it, but then I left it to sort of last minute and sort of it was a bit of a mad panic at the end. But what I did do is I made a video saying, right, I'm going to run a lap of Yorkshire and put it online, because I knew that if I'd done that, it would force me to do it, I guess.
When you put that video online, what was people's response like? Was it positive or nah, you can't do that?
It was a real mix. I got a lot of people saying, you know how far that is, and
How far is it?
when I mapped it, it was 470 miles, and I ended up running 498 miles, which is annoying.
Quick.
Yeah, just up the
Couple of
beach and
laps.
back down again. Yeah, no.
Why didn't you?
I really wish I had done. Well, I was absolutely knackered by the time I got to the thing on my mind was a cold beer and sitting down, not those extra 2 miles.
My first ever sort of cycling challenge at uni. Everyone went on strike for some reason, so I was at Edinburgh and we decided to cycle to England for the day. So we cycled to England, touched the sign, turned around and rode back, and it was 95 miles. It was the furthest I'd ever ridden. And my friend, who'd done quite a lot more, he kept saying, "You got to go do some laps of the park to make 100." And that was the last thing on my mind. I was absolutely knackered. No, I was absolutely knackered.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had a mixed response of. I interrupted you. What were the response of people when you put this video out? Positive or negative?
It was positive. It was positive. The video is basically me saying, "I'm going to do it, and I need some help. So if you think you can help." Put me up for a night, or if you think you could get your work to give me some money for sponsorship or whatever. And it was really good. I raised about $7,000 in the first week, which is crazy. I hadn't anticipated that at all.
Was this before you'd run anywhere?
Before I'd even, laced my shoes up, which is amazing. And I met the lovely people at Welcome to Yorkshire, and they helped me out. Met some amazing people down there who helped out. There was all sorts of things, like I wanted to have a start line on the beach, and trying to get past councils and all those sorts of things. So yeah, they were a huge help. And like press as well, I had no idea how to get any help with that. I thought that I'd kind of write an email to the local paper and be in the Harrogate Advertiser, and I ended up being on BBC News before I set off, and Sky News came to the finish line. It was just all a bit crackers, really, but yeah, an amazing experience.
Tell me a bit more about the act of asking for help, and I mean here, not in terms of health, in terms of getting a project off the ground, because I think asking for help is not a very British thing to do.
No, it isn't. No, but I think people quite like a bit of vulnerability as well, and people also like to help. So if you just openly ask for help, it's amazing how much you'll get, really. So
you don't feel it doesn't feel like using people?
No, I don't think so. I think it would if I was going and just asking straight for cash. I never like asking just for money, but I think asking for help when actually what you mean is money. Probably.
I found that once you open out and just start asking people love getting involved in cool projects.
Absolutely.
They love being a part of Crackers projects, and I think once you start seeing asking for help as like a two-way thing, not just a give me, it's quite cool, isn't it? People like being involved, and they get stuff out of it as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, completely agree.
Yeah. Okay, so you put your video online, and then probably faffed around and did nothing until last minute, like all good trips.
Yeah.
Before you set off, what did you think were going to be the hard things? What was, if anything, was going to stop you? What were you worrying about? And how did that compare to the reality?
I was worried about getting injured. Probably my biggest worry was getting a blister, because I thought if I get a blister, as insignificant as that would be in the whole scheme of the project, that would just do me. And I was, I just didn't think. I like to think I'm quite headstrong, but I thought if I get a blister on my toe, I think that would just literally wipe me out. That would be the end of it, and it would be the most frustrating thing that had ever happened to me. So I was just fearing getting a blister, and I was where were we now? Near Lady Bower Reservoir, and a friend of mine, I'm trying to remember the name of the pub. A friend of mine met me at the pub. A really good friend, the guy I've done a lot of work with over the years, and he was waiting for me to surprise me at this pub. He cycled down. So when we stopped, we just got the beers in and started eating burgers and chips, and had an amazing night. And then my girlfriend Rach came out and met us, and my sister came and her fella. We just had a really good night. But for the first time, I'd run across the moors that day, so my feet were completely sogging wet, and I just sat all evening in my wet shoes. So when I took my shoes off at the end of that night, my feet were just horrendous, wrinkly and white, and I thought, I've done it. This is it, game over. And almost cried myself to sleep. But then when I woke up the next morning, they dried out and we were good to go. But yeah, I thought I'd ruined it.
Before you set it off, did you think you could run a lap of Yorkshire?
That's a really good question. I'm going to say yes. Yeah, I did. I was definitely... Never at any moment did I really think that I wasn't going to do it. Like, there was challenging moments, but... Actually, before... Thinking about that now, before I set off, probably... I was maybe just a bit unsure. But I never really felt that... I never really thought that far ahead, if you know what I mean. I always just kind of thought about what I had to achieve in the next few hours. So I was just like, right, get here, have some lunch, and then get there. It was almost too much to take in, a bit too intimidating to think about the whole distance. So I never really thought about finishing until I finished, really.
I suppose you must have had some degree of confidence in yourself to do this as a public project.
Yeah.
Because anyone could just go and try and run a lap of their county, couldn't they? So,
yeah.
There was the money side of it. You wanted to raise money.
Yeah.
Was there any other aspect of making it a public thing? Were you doing it to... Was there ego involved? Were you trying to prove yourself to yourself?
I think there's definitely an element of ego involved, but the sort of mental health aspect of it was I wanted to talk about my mental health, my experience with mental health. So the rolling like right back to before I had the idea, I knew that I wanted to talk about having a negative experience with mental health, and that initially was just talking, maybe posting something on my own personal Facebook about it. So it became a platform for me to talk about my mental health. So then once I started, I wanted to as many people to know about it as possible, because I wanted the audience to be as big as possible. And then when you start seeing the positive effect it was having on other people coming out and running and the other conversations happening, I just wanted that to reach as many people as possible in the 18 days, So yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So running a lap of Yorkshire is a fine athletic achievement and a cool adventure. But actually, I'm more interested in another part of what you've been up to. Which is why I ended up getting up at stupid o'clock this morning and cursing you. You said to me a while ago, as we were on the way to the cafe, you said that when you were feeling depressed and you're sitting there thinking, what can I do? The only thing you could think of to try and go and have some sort of social experience and fun was go to the pub. So
yeah.
You tell me about that.
Yeah. Well, that was it. That was exactly it. I remember sitting on my own in my flat and thinking, I really need to be around people. Like, this is not doing me well, just sitting here on my own. And literally sitting there and thinking, what on earth can I do that isn't going to the pub? And I honestly couldn't think of anything. So when I finished the run, I decided to set up a running group in Harrogate, not to fix that problem, but looking back now, that kind of is what I hope that's what it's doing for other people,
Okay, so tell me about what's the running group you started in Harrogate?
So it's called the Early Bird Run Crew, and we meet every weekday morning at 6 and 6:30 at the Cenotaph. It's a big one mile in the middle of town, and we go we've got a set 5k route that goes around the edge of the town. So yeah, you can rock up at 6 and do 5k, or 6:30, or come at 6 and if you're feeling really brave and run around twice and do what we call the double, which is a 10k run.
How long have you been doing it?
May, June, 3 months-ish.
3 months-ish. How many people turned up on day one?
6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that? Did you know all those 6?
No.
Day one.
So,
day one was strangers already.
Yeah. So I set up. Another problem I have is I don't really know that many people that run, and I properly love running. And every time you go out running, you see hundreds of other people just running on their own, which seems a little bit crazy. So I set up this Facebook group saying, right, meet this time. And I think I added like 10 friends to it that I thought might be interested in it. And on the first day, about sort of 6 or 7 people turned up, and then it's just grown to then. So I think, how many did we have this morning? Maybe 30 or 40 people, yeah.
So 3 months, you've started this early morning thing, and it's growing now. You've got hundreds of people on the Facebook group.
Yeah.
Tell me what the experience is like on a 5 to 6, which is stupid o'clock. Most people are either asleep or grumpy. Tell me about what happens when everyone gathers just to where we're sitting now.
Well, it's amazing because you I sort of live half a mile from here, so you sort of run in and you run past like, you know, a couple of lads having some McDonald's on their way home from a late night, or, you know, a couple of bin men coming out, and not a lot happening. And everybody turns up very groggy and morning, and then we set off doing the first 5K, and then the atmosphere is incredible. You know, everyone's moods lift, and then we go around again. It's just brilliant, really, just a really rewarding thing.
I really liked it when we all gathered here this morning, and it's quite a people morning, but yeah, not saying that much 'cause it is early. But you just say, is anyone here for the first time? So you're trying to make everyone welcome.
Yeah.
You find a volunteer who'll run at the back.
That's
so doesn't matter how slow you are.
Yeah.
And off you go. And what I like about it is that's so simple. It's like, hey, turn up at this point. We'll go for a run. Someone will be at the back so you won't get lost.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
It's so simple. So why isn't that happening all over the country?
Yeah. Exactly, yeah. I used to be a biker. I'm only not one now because I can't afford to have a motorbike. I will be. I suppose once you're a biker, you're always a biker. And there's a place near here called oh god, I've forgotten the name of the pub. Anyway, it's in Sherburn and Elbit, and it's a bikers cafe, and it's the coolest thing that I've ever seen in my life, because where you can rock up at any time on a motorbike, and there'll be hundreds of other blokes on motorbikes that just want to ride their motorbikes. And
That doesn't sound cool to me.
no, yeah. I suppose it's relative. I definitely think it's cool. But what's cool about it is you can turn up and on your own, and then you can go off and ride your motorbikes with people. You don't have to know them beforehand. So I use the analogy of like a biker's cafe. I wanted to create the running equivalent of what a biker's cafe is. So if you want to go for a run and you don't know anybody, you can just rock up here at 6 o'clock and there'll be people to run. So I hope as it grows, there'll just be hundreds of people turning up and going off and doing their own runs and doing their own routes, and that's the idea, yeah. But it's, to answer your question, why is it happening everywhere? It's, I don't know, because like you say, it seems such a simple idea. So what I want to do next is figure out how to kind of harness whatever this is and just enable other people to do it.
Well, I think a large part of what this is you. And I think what is needed for these things to take off is someone like you, who's a cheerful, enthusiastic, charismatic guy for a biker who just gathers a tribe together and says, come on, let's go. And I think that's what it really needs. It just needs someone to do that, and hopefully eventually get some sort of critical mass when it, because as you said, your hope is that it happens when you're not here. Yeah.
So that's, again, sort of designed it rather selfishly. So I work away a lot, so I don't have any sort of structure. So I knew that it had to not be me. It had to operate without me. Otherwise, it would just fall over after 3 days when I disappeared with work. So, and it's really important as well that it isn't like my thing. I want it to be our thing as well, and to enable it to grow as well. It can't be me. So,
I think it felt like that from this morning. It feels like it's our, meaning all of you guys.
Yes,
it feels like our thing.
Yeah.
And I suppose the fact that I've never been before, I'll probably never come again.
Yeah.
But I felt very much part of it straight away. It's got a nice vibe to it. But I think if you drag anyone out of bed that early to go and do something with purpose, then people have a bit of woomph to it.
Yeah,
don't they?
absolutely. Yeah.
So there's a lot of things about this run. Some people, I guess, come just because they like running and they're training for something. I met a girl who's training for a ultra marathon in New Zealand. But I imagine you're more interested in people who are coming for other reasons than just improving their Strava time. So can you give me a story or two of why some people here might be coming that's helping them?
Yeah, I don't know if I've got a specific story about a specific person.
Generalisation.
Such as, just, I think, well, for me, for example, it's, running massively helps my mental health. So if I come out and run every morning, I'll have a good day, almost guaranteed. If I don't run, if I have a particularly heavy weekend and I stop running, very quickly my mental health deteriorates. Not but I can feel a dip. So it's, what it's done to me is it's given me a level of sort of accountability, and it's kept me more sort of standardise my training. I'm being more regular over the last 3 months. Whereas what I would do is go out and run loads, and then stop, and so that's how it's benefited me. But I think apart from anything, it's brought everybody together as well. Like I say, you just see people running on their own all the time, and it was doing my lap of Yorkshire for the first time, that was when I ran with other people, and I was like, this is amazing. Why haven't I done this before? And I met loads of other sort of community running groups, and we don't really have one in Harrogate, so yeah.
I wonder what it is about running, this sort of community aspect of it, from started by Forrest Gump, I suppose, and then there's Ben Smith.
Yeah, Smith, yeah.
Who ran 401 marathons in 401 days. Jeez.
Amazing guy.
Anna McNuff, now running around Britain. What do you think it is about running, well, the loneliness of the long-distance runner, yet somehow these sort of community events come from it? Do you have any ideas on why that is?
Well, I think we used to run around together all the time when we were hunting, and I think there's got to be something there, hasn't there? Something about running in packs, and yeah, it definitely just feels like the sort of thing we should be doing. Yeah.
Running's also a nice chance to be able to talk, isn't it?
Yeah, massively.
But side by side, not face to face, and
yeah. So I would say if you go, like, you know, we've never met before this morning. If we sit sort of opposite each other, talking eye to eye, and there's eye contact, and if all of a sudden the conversation dried up, well, apart from the fact it's a podcast, that would make a terrible podcast. It would be a little bit awkward. But when you're running, there's no eye contact, and it's completely fine if you don't talk for a minute or two. So it's just a really, really easy way to chat, because there's not really that intimacy there, and you're not obligated to keep the conversation flowing, and also you're a little bit lethargic, so you're on your back foot a little bit. So conversation just tends to flow a little bit easier as well. So it's
So everyone here seemed to be very happy this morning. I guess it helps that it's a sunny morning.
Yeah.
But so I'm wondering whether you're not succeeding because the people who've come out are just happy, functioning people, and what you want to reach are people who are not that happy, for whom getting out of bed and meeting a crowd is hard.
Yeah.
Are you just preaching to the converted?
That's a really good question. I've got two answers. The first one I would say is that just because people appear to be happy on the outside doesn't mean that they actually are happy. So take me as a prime example. Yeah, I turn up every morning with a big beaming smile on my face, but how I'm feeling inside, or how my previous night's been, or an argument I've had with a girlfriend, or stresses I've had with work, or rest of it, I don't bring that to the crew, and I think a lot of people probably don't. So I would argue that it has a huge positive impact on people without you necessarily being able to see that. But you're absolutely right. I think there's definitely a case of probably the people that I really want to affect and that I think would really benefit from coming. The idea of coming is really, really difficult. So that's something I'm looking at the minute. And we're trying to chat to GPs and see how locally how we can give them a level of assurance to say, oh, get yourself onto the Bird Run Crew. So we're looking at some training, so training up the runners to be mental health first aid trained, just on a really sort of soft touch level. And the complete other end of the scale, I went yesterday to speak to an amazing lady called Claire, who's in charge of suicide prevention for North Yorkshire County Council, and she was saying that to reduce suicide, you need to come all the way back down the line and look at how we make people not be depressed. So we're talking about exploring ways that we can get people engaged in running and set up different community groups. So it's something I'm looking at, but I don't have the answers yet.
Yeah, it's something I've really noticed from my own attempts to try and get people out and adventurous and doing adventure things, is I'm really conscious that I'm always kind of preaching to the converted.
Yeah.
Yesterday I went to see a lady who's working in Bradford to take Pakistani kids from the really rough estates to basically get outdoors for the first time. And I know there's a very different demographic in Harrogate, but it was interesting. Today there was one black woman running, which I know Harrogate's a very white town, but I think trying to get a variety of people out and running, I think, is one of the challenges for Britain at large, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that is another thing that I love about running, though, is it's such a leveller. So we've got, like, chief execs, we've got doctors, we've got bin men, we've got chefs, we've got a pot wash that comes every day. We've got a finance director. We've got, these are just people actual people I'm thinking of off the top of my head that come. But it doesn't matter who you are. When you come to the group, you're just in your shorts and a t-shirt and you're running.
Yeah, it's something I love about running, particularly in comparison to cycling.
Mm-hmm.
Cycling's all about how expensive your sprockets are.
Yeah.
Whereas I love that running, you just put on a pair of trainers and a pair of shorts and Alf Tupper style, off you go. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
One running phenomenon that I really love is parkrun.
Yeah, me too.
Free, worldwide Saturday morning runs that anyone can do.
Mm-hmm.
What's the point of your thing? Why don't you just tell everyone to go and do parkrun? What's the difference?
The difference, I think, is I don't know, actually. I was going to say the difference is the community thing, but I think perhaps that's only just because this group's really small that it feels more... I think the difference, if this managed to scale, is the regularity. So, thinking back to me when I was depressed, if I went to parkrun on a Saturday, I'd have to wait a whole week, and a lot of stuff happens in a week. Whereas I think where I would benefit with the Early Bird Run Crew is the fact that it happens every day, but then I've got parkrun on Saturday as well, so I've only got Sunday to get through on my own. So I think the regularity of it is perhaps where it offers something different to parkrun. But I think parkrun is unbelievable.
Oh, parkrun's wonderful.
Yeah.
But my opinion on it, from just having joined you once, is that you said then about scaling it, and my first thought of this is that it's great because it's not scale.
Because it's not scaled, yeah.
It's not scale. It's small and it's local, and therefore people talk. Because parkrun is brilliant, but its success means there's often hundreds of people.
Yeah.
So you don't talk.
Yes.
And this is great because it's really small.
Yeah.
And my here's a bit of free management consultant for you that you didn't ask for. My opinion on this would be the great thing to do would be to have these pockets in towns, even in neighbourhoods in bigger towns, and not try and make it big, but just make it spread.
Completely.
And the smallness is good.
Yeah, I think when I say scale, I don't mean here. I mean like a wider reach. Yeah, exactly like you say. Just. I think in Harrogate even we've got sort of Starbeck, Knaresborough, and there could be another 5 or 6 Early Bird Run Crews just in Harrogate.
So would you like it then if in some other town someone listens to this and thinks, I can do that, I'm a keen runner, I like running, I'm going to stick something on my Instagram and Facebook, get a little group and go run 5k?
Absolutely.
Okay, so in that case, what should they do? I mean, I think, because they could just go do it, of course.
Yeah.
I think together we are stronger. So
absolutely.
I think it would be good if they take the same name. So what would they do? Get in touch with you? And
I think they should get in touch with me. Yeah, I think that would be great.
And
we
how
should
would
have
they
a
do
coffee. So Twitter, perhaps. I am Ben Dave on Twitter, or should I don't, how many people listen to this? I don't know whether it's a good idea to get my email out.
Nobody
does.
Well, literally no one in the world has listened to this yet. So.
Probably Twitter's the best place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you got a website for it yet, or a URL? Or
I've bought the URL.
What's the thing called?
Early Bird Run Crew.
earlybirdruncrew.com.
So depending on when this is live, perhaps there'll be a website.
Okay, well, there's your challenge. You need to get this out before both my listeners crash your website. But I think it's a brilliant thing you're doing. Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks for coming.
As always, the alarm clock... Well, one of my favourite quotes is, man's greatest journey is the long step from the warm bed to the cold floor.
So true.
It's so true. Once you're out of bed, and early morning exercise, I think, is one of the great superpowers of the universe. I love having done a decent amount of exercise before, 8 o'clock?
Yeah.
And now we can get on with the day. But thank you very much.
Cheers, thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you.
That's brilliant.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Living Adventurously. There's show notes from every episode on my website, alistairhumphreys.com/podcast. If you have enjoyed it, please take a screenshot of your phone and pop it up on social media, or leave a review with your podcast provider. It makes a massive difference. Thank you very much. I teamed up with Komoot to make this podcast happen. In case you missed it, Komoot is an outdoor planning and navigation app that helps you explore more of the great outdoors. One of the many ways Komoot helps you have better adventures is with detailed route profiles. So, you've got your basic route in place with Komoot. Next step is to check the route profile. The profile displays the information you want to see, like the surface type, especially important if you're on a bike, and elevation profile, especially important for everyone, the ups and the downs. On a road bike, for example, that means you can anticipate the big climbs or ensure your adventure only includes tarmac, unless you want to spice it up and you want to suffer, in which case you can hunt for a gravel route or more single track. If you're hiking, you'll be able to see your elevation gain as well as where on the route you'll need to push on to get through the uphills. Your very own outdoor experiences are waiting for you. Go explore more with Komoot. Head to komoot.com/G and use the voucher code ADVENTUROUS to claim your free region bundle.